Okay, welcome back to another video where I play a random game and hope to find my new favorite game of the year. And it looks like this week's game is Ori and the Blind Forest. Let's get into it. I should probably start by saying that this game was way harder than I first thought it was going to be. I haven't seen any gameplay of the game, but I thought it was just going to be more of a platform jumper with cutesy aesthetics. But boy oh boy was I wrong. In my playthrough I died 377 times, which probably speaks more about me than it does about the game. The entire experience was enjoyable from the start to the end, being able to attack enemies to jumping from platforms to walls, while also trying to figure out each sort of puzzle as I was going along. And as the game progressed, it got more and more intense with you having to know the layout of how to get from A to B whilst dodging or attacking. At the very start, I didn't realize you could create your own checkpoints for relatively low cost. And so in the early game when I would die, it would be about 15 to 20 minutes of gameplay that I would lose each time because I was trying to use my charges sparingly. The entire game being one giant map was kind of a double-edged sword. It was cool that in this game you weren't fast traveling or loading into each zone and making the old one redundant. So that made it more immersive. You had to sort of figure out where you needed to go next and where you haven't been, what platforms you couldn't break prior to learning abilities like say Stomp, and so then you go back to get the resources or open up a new path, so that was pretty cool. But on the other hand, I ran around that map at least 50 times, was just trying to figure out where I could go and where I couldn't because there's no mini map on the side, and so sometimes I would overshoot somewhere without checking the map and realize I have no access getting back unless I loop around. The theme as you played was very reminiscent of when I played Unravel 2, even though this came out earlier. I think it's sort of a general theme that most games follow, where it begins tranquil and leads to dark, dreary, fire, angry as you get towards the end, which isn't to say that I didn't like it, but also the story in a nutshell also felt like Unravel 2, how they gave you snippets as you played through, and it was quite a sad, touching story, but a beautiful one at that. Now, in this they did have a talent tree, which I thought was solid. It was a nice simple one, just 3 trees that you can choose, either fighting, utility, or assistance, and each power-up you could feel a difference with each ability point. Now, there were a couple of things that I wasn't a huge fan on, the biggest being the wall jumps. They just didn't feel clean. I felt like some walls were a lot more reactive, while some I would slide down a little bit too much, and it just was a little bit frustrating. But this could be down to user error. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I was using an Xbox controller while playing it. Another thing I wasn't a big fan of, but I'm not sure if you can do it or not, but that is to be able to pan your camera to see what's down off of a ledge, or to see potential enemies up ahead, or even before you begin your jumping sequence, to get a little understanding of what you're aiming for, whether you're trying to ascend, descend, or just clear over a giant path. Also, the spirit orbs that enemies would drop looked like their projectiles, which was irritating during intense fights. So, with all this being said, I still think that this is a wonderful game, and I had a lot of fun playing it, a lot of frustration, but still a lot of fun. I'm going to have to rate this one an 8.5 out of 10. I would definitely recommend this to people that play these types of games, but because we have a similar game already and the favorites contender, then this one will not be going for favorite game of the year. And again, thank you for watching and following on this journey. And let me know if you've played this game, how many deaths you had before you completed it for your first run.